Welcome back to the deep dive. What we're getting into today, it's really something. The Ambubasi Mela. Honestly, it kind of challenges how I think about, well, divinity and nature, and I suspect it might for many of you too. We're talking about this major annual Hindu festival, and it's happening pretty much right now, typically mid-June. So for 2025, the dates are June 22nd to June 26th. Which means the temple itself, it closes June 22nd, 23rd, 24th, then reopens on the 25th, and the whole fair wraps up on the 26th. But what really makes this festival stand out, I think, is this incredible embrace of menstruation, seeing it as sacred divine, which, you know, is such a stark contrast to how it's often viewed elsewhere. So we're going to explore how this like ancient ritual connects with really modern ideas about feminine power, nature, all that.
It really does. And there are just so many layers here, you know, belief, symbolism, history, it all comes together. And the heart of it all is the Kamakya Temple. That's in Guwahati, Assam, in India. This isn't just some small local thing. It's a massive Hindu festival, one of the biggest religious gatherings in Eastern India, actually. So maybe ask yourself, what does it really mean for a whole culture to, well, celebrate something that's often kept hidden, considered taboo? That's what we want to unpack today. Really get into the details, the meaning behind it all, give you a clear picture.
Okay, yeah, let's dig into that core belief then. Because it's pretty remarkable. The central idea is it's the goddess Kamakya, who is a form of Shakti, you know, the divine feminine energy. And Kamakya is also one of the 51 Shakti Pithas, these sacred spots where parts of goddess Sati's body supposedly fell, right? So the belief is that goddess Kamakya herself goes through her annual menstruation during these 4 days. And the temple's inner sanctum, the Garbhagriha, it's unique. There's no idol, just this yoni-shaped stone.
Symbol of the womb.
Exactly, a symbol of the womb, and there's a natural spring that flows over it. So to honor this time, this cycle, they close the inner sanctum for 3 days. It's like it mirrors traditional seclusion practices during menstruation.
It does, yeah. And then on the 4th day, everything reopens, but only after this ritual cleansing, a bathing of the sanctum. And that's when you see these huge crowds of devotees gathering. They're all waiting, really eager to get blessings. And here's where the symbolism gets very tangible. They distribute pieces of red cloth.
Oh, right, the Angavastra.
Angavastra or Raktavastra, yeah.
Yeah.
And the belief is that this cloth is soaked in the goddess's menstrual fluid. It's given out as prasad, you know, a sacred offering.
Wow.
And people see it as incredibly auspicious, like a direct blessing from the divine feminine power, not just a keepsake.
That physical symbolism is, yeah, incredibly powerful. And it connects right back to the name, doesn't it? Ambubasi, which apparently means spoken with water. So it links to the monsoon rains, the fertility of the earth. So the festival kind of beautifully ties together the female cycle and nature's creative power. Mother Earth as a fertile woman.
Exactly.
And during these days, they actually stop certain activities like no farming, digging, plowing, sowing seeds. Also things like daily worship, cooking, even reading holy books are paused. It's all about emphasizing the sacred rest period, this fertile time.
And building on that, this whole focus on fertility, it's deeply, deeply rooted in the Tantric Shakti cult. That's a spiritual tradition, quite prominent in Eastern India. It often involves, well, harnessing divine energy, sometimes going beyond conventional norms through rituals.
Right. I've heard it called a meti too, or a tantric fertility festival.
That's correct. And that's why it draws so many tantric practitioners. You see sadhus, sannyasins, even agoris who are a, let's say, more ascetic and unconventional tantric sect. Some of them only appear in public during these 4 days.
Really? Just for this festival?
Often, yes. It's a major gathering point for them. And they perform various rituals, you know, fire offerings called havans, sometimes even displays of psychic abilities or extreme asceticism, which naturally attracts a lot of attention, media attention to globally.
Yeah.
The Kamakya Temple itself, sitting there on Nileshal Hill, is a huge center for tantric worship. There's even a specific tantric ritual called Rajwashi Puja during the Maya.
It's just fascinating how something so steeped in like ancient tantric ways can also feel so modern. I mean, boldly rejecting menstrual taboos. That feels incredibly relevant today. It really is a culturally progressive event celebrating female power.
It is.
And it's not just the spiritual side, right? It's also this massive showcase of Assam's culture. You get rural craft fairs, amazing folk dances, music like the balls, the singing minstrels, other performers too.
A real cultural hub.
Yeah, it brings everyone together, devotees, sadhus, tourists from all over India, even internationally. I read that in 2019 they had something like 25 lakh attendees. That's 2.5 million people. Just imagine that.
That scale is, well, it's huge. And it makes sense when you think about the temple's origins. As you mentioned, it's one of the 51 Shakti Pithas. The story goes that parts of Goddess Sati's body fell to earth after Vishnu dismembered her.
To stop Shiva's destructive dance, right?
Exactly. And here, at Kamakya, is where her yoni, her vulva, is believed to have landed. So the temple, which was rebuilt first in the 16th century by the Kosh king Naranarayan, and then again later in the 17th, it doesn't have a conventional idol. Worship focuses entirely on that yoni-shaped stone with the spring. Its roots really tie back to very old agricultural beliefs, equating the earth's fertility with a woman's cycle. It underscores its deep, ongoing spiritual weight.
Okay, here's something I find really interesting and maybe a bit complex. The Brahmaputra River. The river near the temple is said to turn red for 3 days during the festival.
That's a strong local belief.
Right, symbolizing the goddess menstruating. But our sources also mention, potential natural causes like iron oxide from the soil or maybe cinnabar powders used in rituals.
Yes, there are scientific explanations offered for the coloration.
So how does that work for people there, this mix of traditional belief and scientific possibility? Does knowing the scientific side take away from the spiritual meaning? Or maybe it somehow enhances it for some?
That's a really key question. And I think for many devotees, the natural phenomenon, the red water, doesn't diminish the belief. With anything, it can be seen as a visible, tangible sign confirming the divine cycle they're honoring, nature mirroring the sacred event.
I see.
During the time the temple is closed, you see devotees observing quite strict austerities. Many wait patiently outside, sleeping rough sometimes, just to get blessings when it reopens. And some sadhus, particularly the tantric ones, might perform pretty extreme practices, like standing on one leg for days or even burying their heads in sand pits. It really showcases the intensity of the tradition. And beyond all the spiritual and cultural aspects, we shouldn't forget the economic side. This festival is a huge boost for the local economy. Think about the craft fairs, the accommodation, food, transport for millions of pilgrims. It contributes significantly to Assam's economy.
Right. And for anyone listening who might consider visiting, it's at the Kamakya Temple up on Nalakshal Hill in Guwahati.
That's right. You do have to climb some steps, maybe around 1 of 50 or so, to reach the main complex.
Good to know. And photography.
It's generally allowed outside, on the temple grounds, but strictly prohibited inside the inner sanctum, the Garbhagriha. Darshan times, the viewing times for devotees on the reopening day, which is June 25th in 2025, usually start early, like 5:30 a.m., and go on until about 10:30 p.m. They set up large camps to accommodate the pilgrims. And interestingly, in recent years, especially with COVID concerns and managing the sheer numbers, there have even been options for virtual worship, virtual darshan, sometimes even with prasad delivered.
That's adapting to modern times. So bringing it all together, what does this mean for us maybe looking from the outside? The Ambubasi Mela clearly isn't just an ancient ritual. It's still incredibly vibrant, spiritually, culturally. It gets global attention for this unique focus.
Absolutely.
You see it reflected online, too, like on social media, people sharing their reverence, seeking blessings from Makamakya. Its core message about fertility, nature, the power of the feminine, it seems to really connect with current conversations we're having about gender, about living more harmoniously with the environment, understanding Earth's rhythms.
It really does.
It feels like a festival with huge spiritual and social significance, a really powerful counterstory to how menstruation is often perceived.
And if we step back just a little further, the Manila offers this profound way to look at how humanity relates to nature's power, its creative force, and specifically the female reproductive cycle. It really invites us, maybe challenges us to look critically at our own cultural views, our ideas about the body, about nature, about what we hold sacred. So maybe a final thought to leave you with, in a world that often seems disconnected from, even fighting against natural cycles, what kind of deeper wisdom could we possibly gain from a tradition that doesn't just acknowledge, but actually celebrates joyfully, celebrates the fundamental force rhythms of life and the earth?